Welcome to the Spunky Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, psychic medium Carrie Muggs. This is where we learn all things spirit, everything from spiritual gifts, awakenings, ghosts, aliens, and starseeds. Nothing is untouchable, but always fun and spunky. I am honored to be on this spiritual journey with you, so make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hello, my little spunksters. It's going to be funny calling you guys that because it's kind of cute, kind of funny. So, welcome to today's podcast. Today on Spunky Spirit, we are going to talk about shadow people and what they are. The reason why is because I've been doing some readings and I'm getting lots of parents coming in and saying that their children are starting to see them. And I remember seeing them when I was younger too. And so we're going to talk about them because we're going to talk about what they can be, what you can do, all those types of things. When I did a poll on my Instagram, I asked how many of my followers had seen a shadow person or had experience with a shadow person. 64% of you said that you have had experiences with a shadow person. And when I was listening to Dave Schrader, his podcast, when he was asking, he said in one of his podcasts that when he got up and asked the audience, about 60% of them said that they had had a shadow experience. So that's about right. So what is a shadow? What are the shadow people? What are they? So a lot of people think most of the people, about 80% of the people I've talked to, they're not very good experiences. The shadow people kind of make them scared or fear them, which in my experiences, it has been the same. So, but there's people out there that have had good experiences with shadow people. Some people say that they have protected them. So it was the term shadow person was built in the 1990s by a man, M.A.J. Andrews, who wrote an article in support of this phenomena. And he had personal experiences himself and referred to them as the shadow people throughout his writing. So they're described as dark or black figures that have a human-like shape. They can be mists. They can be other forms, and we'll talk about too. They are often seen in dimly lit areas and mostly reported in bedrooms and hallways. And many of the people who do have this encounter a shadow person do it in either the early morning or late at night. And that's been my experience too, but there have been some people who have taken naps in the middle of the day and had experiences. So, and a lot of times too, shadow people will show up right when you wake up, or they'll show up while you're awake, and sometimes they show up when you're in that dream state. I talk about that Tinkerbell time, that astral realm time, when you're half asleep and half awake. And a lot of times they'll be prevalent during when you get sleep paralysis, when you're in that. And I think I have a whole episode on sleep paralysis in itself. But one of the options are, and I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but since we're talking about sleep paralysis, one of the things says that during sleep paralysis, if you see a shadow figure, it's because you are astral traveling and don't realize it. And when you wake up, your body's not there, so you can't move. And then the shadow person that you see is actually your spirit coming back. So, but I also know that has a lot of fear to it. So I don't know if when this actually happens, if you're fearing the fact that you can't wake up and you're all afraid, or if you're if you're fearing the shadow thing. I kind of feel like, a lot of empaths or intuitives can feel if they're scared because they're scared, or if they can feel a darker energy. And I kind of feel like shadow people, the ones that I've encountered, have a little bit of darker energy. So, it's they're often described as being from 4 to 6 feet tall, and they have no face. And usually, sometimes they have no eyes, except for some people have said that they have yellow and red eyes. The one that I did see actually did have red eyes. And they have long, muscular arms and legs. They just kind of have a person figure. Some of them have clothes. You can tell some of them have top hats or capes. It's just all different people's experience. They're often seen wearing dark clothing, like long trench coats, and obviously it's black, or it's just an outline of it. So it is kind of interesting, though, because it's interesting, just like people. Shadows and energy are good and bad. People are good and bad. And when you watch The Shack and they're taking the guy to meet his father, all of the different energies have a different light, but they're all shaped as humans. And this is kind of the same thing. It's just a dark color. It's a black color. So there you go. I feel like shadow people are around a lot. A lot of people think that once they start digging into the spiritual realm, that these shadow people show up. I believe they've always been there. They've always been there. You're just more awake to see them now, or you're more opening to see them. So, some people think that there have been, like, they've been known clear in the beginning, like lots of different cultures have talked about shadow people. The Chinese have a different name for them. Ireland, Scotland, they all have a different name for them. And even the Native Americans thought that we had three parts of our soul, and one of them being the shadow. And so a lot of Native Americans think that the shadow part is that part of their soul. It's just, some of them can be really tall. And most people who experience this phenomenon say that these shadow figures are used, sometimes seen in the corner of their eye, and then they and they disappear, or they can look straight into them. A lot of the information that I got for this podcast is from my own experience and a book called A Walk in the Shadows by Mike Ricksector. I'll put the link to that book in the show notes. And he kind of says there's ones that aren't real. I mean, there's ones that are nice and some that are bad. He kind of goes into more depth. And a lot of his book is about different experiences that people have had with the shadow man. Some of these shadow men are also known as the Hat Man, because some of the shadows have like tall top hats. I have experienced shadow people. I have 3 of my children who have experienced the shadow people. So it's kind of a paranormal thing. It is a very paranormal thing, and that's why it's made it to this episode. Just remember, I don't know where I stand on this. I don't know where they came from. I don't know. I know I have this experience. And so you take from this what you want to, what resonates with you, and you feel like what resonates with you and what is easiest for your mind to hold on to about what these figures do and what they want, and what types there are. So there's the classic one, just the human-shaped shadow people. These are human-shaped and most commonly experienced, and they come in a variety of combinations, with or without hats, yellow eyes, green eyes, hoods, capes, all those kind of things. They're usually male. Usually people feel like they're male. And they're just seen as black shadows, like this black dark figure. And they can start as mist and then come to the black figure, but the black figure is a human shaped, and it's sometimes, most of the time, it doesn't have hair or facial features. You can't really see their hands. They're just kind of like a black shadow. And when you look at them directly, they disappear sometimes. Some of them don't. Some people have actually kind of very, very, very rarely people have actually felt like they've actually grabbed people by the feet and things like that. But that's up to you. That's up to you to decide. That's just what they're telling me. They can travel through walls and doors. And they also can come in animal shaped. There's some people that say most human ones are the most common. Some of them actually will see shadows of animals, and they are like small animals, and they run across the floor, or rabbits, cats, dogs, things like that. Shadow cats are the most common. That's probably why black cats get their bad luck, because the shadow, maybe that's the one that showed up most of the time, and so people just kind of, but people have actually claimed too to see spiders. So that's different. I've never even heard of that too. But it can show up as a black mist and a black shadow too. So it's got a less human form, and it appears like a cloud or a dark smoke, and it can like a blurred vision, and that could be like anywhere in the room or anywhere on the ceiling. I think I did have a client once that said hers was on the ceiling a lot. So, and then also too in the forest. So you can see black shadow people, forest shadow people in trees and outdoors. They're called shadow stalkers, and they hang around the trees. And they're said to be harmless. They act as protectors to guard nature. So honestly, if these ones are good and protect nature, then maybe the ones that we see, some of them are good and protect us, right? Other types of shadow figures have been studied and discussed, but these are the most ones. Some of them think that they're, what are some of the theories behind these shadow people? Some of them think they're aliens. Some think they're time travels, astral travelers, or interdimensional beings. I've seen some, like I said, in that astral realm, the Tinkerbell time, half asleep and half awake. But I've also seen some. I'm going to be honest. I've seen one without being asleep, and this was This was not a good experience for me. It was pretty scary, and my husband was there, so he can vouch. He didn't see the shadow person, but the shadow thing got really ticked at me because I was telling it to leave. I was not happy, and it knocked down as it was leaving through my closet. It knocked down my dream board and all of the things that were on my shelf, and my husband was like, "What the heck was that?" And I'm like, we went in and into the closet, and it was all my dream boards, all of my pictures, everything were shadowed all over the floor. And my husband's very sensitive too, so he's the one that has claimed to see Bigfoot, so he did not bat an eye, especially with the kind of work that I do. So he was like, "What the heck?" So of course we smudged, did all the things. That one wasn't a very nice one, and that one seemed to, like, some of these, they can stick around for a while. But here's some of the theories of what they are, and I am not against any of these. Because this is one of those things where you just don't know, right? We don't know. We have no idea. Nobody has an explanation for it scientifically or anything like that. So these are some of the theories. Some people theorize that they are a form of evil, and they're a form of evil spirits or ghosts, and they are malevolent, and they aren't here to help, and they are here to scare us, and they just want your energy, and they like to live off your energy because your energy is like a bat goes through there, and that makes me wonder if it got screwed up. So in another theory, it is stated that these shadow figures are shadows of people who are having an out-of-body experience in astral projection. Like I said, you are doing an astral projection, you're coming back, and your shadow comes through, and you're coming back, and your spirit isn't back in your body. So it's astral projection is like an out-of-body experience, an OBE, which occurs when your spirit leaves your physical body, or your consciousness leaves your physical body and travels through the astral plane. And when you come back, this is what people think sleep paralysis is. Your body wakes up, but your spirit's not back yet, and so the shadow is your spirit actually coming back into your body. But the book that I read mostly said that that's very rare, that the shadow people and the sleep paralysis are combined. So another theory is that they're time travelers. They're traveling from the future and into the past in our present time, and they're moving throughout our timeline, and they appear as shadows. That's kind of an interesting one. I just don't know why they would want to hurt some people too. Another explanation is that they're interdimensional, and they come from a higher dimension, and they exist somewhere beyond our dimension, and they come through as portals. And this dimension exists parallel or close to ours. Now, this is the same thing as spirits, though, because when people pass over and they go to heaven, right, they're in a different dimension, or they're at a different time, and they come through and visit too. So I don't know what the difference would be, right? It's kind of, maybe they're at a different frequency, these dark shadows, and they come through. They can kind of have access sometimes, and some people can see them and some people can't. And also, too, some people think that they're aliens coming from another dimension and manifesting in shadow form as they interact with us. So that was kind of interesting too. And a lot of people think that by science, it says that shadow people is nothing but our own imagination or science related. Like we're not getting, so a lot of times with sleep paralysis, the reason why we see them is because we're not getting enough oxygen if we're sleeping on our backs. That's why a lot of people think that people have sleep paralysis are back sleepers, but some people have reported these things even when they're on their side or they're on their stomachs. And some people think that a lot of people have sleep apnea. They're not getting enough oxygen, which makes them have hallucinations. And that if you get a CPAP or something to that effect, it will help you breathe better, and it will it'll help you so you don't have sleep paralysis anymore. And sometimes, though, some people think when they wake up and they can't move their body, they feel like it sits on their chest and they can't move their body. To me, this is something different. There's also other things that this could be that other cultures have written about, things like the hag back in the day, and the incubus and things like that. So, but some scientists think that this occurs right before we're falling asleep and before we're waking up in that Tinkerbell time, and we're hallucinating. And some people even believe that we create them out of our own fear. That we because when we go through spiritual awakenings or things like that, that they are attracted to our mental and emotional fear. And so we kind of create it. Or if we've had some trauma in the past and we can't deal with it, we create it ourselves. And then when we get older and have to deal with it, that trauma resurfaces. And some people believe that it's that. But I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know, I mean, that could be true. Here's the thing. I don't know. I know I've experienced it. I know it's real. But why do 64% of the population or 60% of the population experience it and the others don't? And it's not because anybody's better than anybody else, right? It's just that maybe more people are more detailed or they know more aware of what's going on. So who knows? But how do you protect yourself from shadow figures? This is kind of like what we talked about last week. It's kind of the same as hexes and curses and things like that. So the one thing that you want to try is to control your fears. For some reason, so that's because that's what they live on. So, or that's what they're there for, is that fear, that energy. That's what they like. And the sad part is they can do that to children. Children are easy access. And so and this is another thing too. So if your child does want to sleep with you at night because they're scared, and they see that they saw a dark shadow or something like that, let them sleep with you, because the child believes that you'll protect them. And because they believe that, it's true. So just like if you believe Jesus will protect you, or if some of you believe the evil eye will protect you, or some of you believe that sage will protect you, the child believes that you will protect them. So when you're with them, it will. They will have that protection. So in fact, my mom, I was sleeping. I've told this story many times, but I sleep on the side of the bed. I would sleep on my mom's side of the bed all the time on the floor, constantly, because of all these things that would happen when I was little. So, one, you can say prayers or put out in the universe, ask for gods or angels to help you, God or angels to help you. You can ask for the protective angels. You can say Jesus' name. You can ask for Jesus' help. You can ask for the warrior angels. You can ask for Archangel Michael to come. You can do all those things before you go to bed or at night and ask for them to come help you. The trick is you have to believe it. You have to believe that these things will help you. You can do meditation every day to help you raise your frequency. The one thing I have found is the one thing that helped me to get rid of some of these things is raising my frequency. And that's by meditation, more awakening, doing more meditation, anything that, and honestly, to raise your frequency is to get rid of that shadow. See, that's why part of me wonders, you got to go through that shadow work. And just because that shadow, is that part of your shadow work that you're doing? We don't know exactly. So, learn, the psychic defenses like white light around you at all times, or meditation and using cloaks, any kind of that thing. Or you could pretend you have an aerosol can and you spray it around and that protects you. Crystals. I was talking about this last week. You can use crystals, amethyst, tourmaline, any kind of black crystal will help you from that negative energy, and things like that. If the situation gets worse, you can seek help from, if I've had lots of kids come to me about shadow people, and tourmaline and sage in their room has worked phenomenally, but it's not a one and done thing, guys. You got to keep doing it every month. So, and also too, if you're struggling with some of these shadow stuff, don't play with things like pendulums or Ouija boards. Just be safe. Don't be stupid. They're just not something you have to really have a good intention. So kind of avoid that stuff if you're dealing with something like this. And again, sprinkle some sea salt around your bed, or in the corners of your room, in the front of your house, down the hall. Those, we talked about salt last week too. And if you've noticed, the things that we talk about, it's just a protection of an energy. Everything is energy, right? So even curses or hexes that we talked about last week, they're energy. These shadow things, they're energy. And so how do you protect yourself from this energy? Kind of all the same way. So, and I think, this is my opinion, I think it's all somehow related. I think paranormal stuff, crypto stuff, which is fairies and gnomes and Bigfoot, all that stuff, and alien, I think it's all somehow combined. And I know people think it's separate. I know people are like, no, this is one thing, this is one thing. I think it has to be. It's all somehow combined. And I got this theory watching Skinwalker, because they're dealing with UFO presence and paranormal stuff, and it's the same outcome. It's the same radiation levels. It's the same all the things. So my thing is, I'm one of those people who wants to know why. Why do these things happen? I used to be just love and light, and I help people heal, and I see people that have passed over, but now I want to know why, because I also want to help the people who've passed over. I want to help them if they need it, and why are they stuck here, and what's going on, and if they are stuck here, I want to know why, and I want to know how things work, because that's just who I am. So if you have any kind of these experiences, do those things. Ask it to leave. You can ask it to leave, but you have to be too really strong. I have had experiences where I've asked them to leave, and that made that one mad. And they will maybe get mad if it's a bad one. They'll maybe get mad, but they have to. They have to leave if you believe in your own power. If you're super scared and you're like, could you just please leave? They will kind of laugh at that. You have to stand in your power and just know that you are way more powerful than these things. Way more powerful. Your light is strong. You have everything you need inside of you. And if you just believed in yourself as much as that, this is why I always say, you guys, it's always shadow work. It's always work. The best way to raise your vibration and the best way to communicate is to look inside yourselves, and you have everything you need inside you, and it's all believing in who you are and believing in what you can do and what is possible. And this is why self-help and healing is so important, because when you realize who you are and what you can become and what you can manifest and what you can create, it would change you. And you don't see your power. They do, but they realize you don't understand it, and so they're safe from that. But if you step into that, you're going to be able to be limitless, So if you run into these, if you've had these kind of experiences, let me know. Email me at carrie@carriemuggs.com and let me know, because I'm interested in seeing lots of my clients have had these experiences, and so just thought this might help you if you're in that deal, or if you did. And if you haven't had this experience, don't worry about it. I don't want to place fear in you because there's a reason why you haven't and you probably won't. So I just don't want to, implement that fear. Another thing too that I've noticed is when these kind of negative energies or hauntings are around, it's a lot of, there's some broken family issues, or there's some struggling with the family, or somebody in the family's got depression, or somebody in the family's and that's not a 100% normal thing. I mean, that's not a 100% across the board type of thing. It's just kind of most of the time. So just kind of watch and see, which I got to be honest, I love my family to death, but my dad was an alcoholic, and it wasn't the best circumstances to grow up in, and it was a lot of drama, a lot of stuff like that, and just so easily for these entities to thrive in. Just so easily for entities like this to thrive in. So watch that. Always sage, and if you don't want to sage, you can do other things. I think I've done a podcast on that. You can do sprays, things like that, salt around your house. So I hope this helps you guys. I love you so much. And please remember, do not let this scare you, because fear is something, false evidence appearing real. And I don't, I just don't want this to implement fear, just because you are so much stronger than you believe. And honestly, it's not something to fear, because most of the 95% of the time, they do not touch you, and they do not interact with you, and they do not hurt you. So hope that helps you guys. I love you so much, and watch for my connection class coming up in probably June. May, June, July, maybe July, the middle of July. I'm creating it now. It's going to be awesome. It's going to teach how to connect. It's going to have lives. It's going to be an 8-week course, and it's going to be for those who want to be more mediumship, or those who just want to connect to spirit more. And there's going to be spirit circles. There's going to be lives every weekly, question and answers, homework. Just be prepared and watch out for that if you're getting my emails, and watch my social media. And I love you guys so much, and I will see you next week. If you liked this episode, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you think this will help somebody, please share it on your social media.